Right. Hello all. Good morning to everyone. And today we will start deliberations on High Court, its composition, the appointment of the judges of the High Court, and their qualifications, and oath, as well as the transfer of judges, and the provisions which have been provided by the Constitution to ensure independence of the High Court. In the previous class, we discussed about the Supreme Court. Okay, let us start. So, High Court. As we know that we have adopted integrated judicial system. What is the meaning of integrated judicial system? Integrated judicial system means judicial hierarchy. That means Supreme Court is at the apex level and High Courts are at various respective states, and these High Courts are controlled by the Supreme Court, and of course the judgments given by the Supreme Court are binding on the High Courts, and also both High Court and Supreme Court is empowered to interpret the central laws as well as the state laws. So that's why the Indian judicial system is called as single integrated judicial system. Okay, if you compare the Indian judiciary with the judicial structure of United States of America, in USA the federal court and the courts at the respective states, their jurisdictions are different, and the federal laws can be interpreted only by the federal court, and the courts at the state level are not empowered to interpret the federal laws. Whereas in India, both High Court and Supreme Court can interpret the laws of the central government as well as the state government. So this is the basic difference between Indian judicial system and the American judicial system. Okay, and of course, as I said, the High Court operates below the Supreme Court but above the subordinate courts. So these subordinate courts are at district level. Okay, and of course in the state, with respect to state, High Court is the highest judicial authority. Okay, or High Court is at the top position in the judicial administration of the state. Okay, so the judiciary in a state consists of High Court and a hierarchy of subordinate courts, and the High Court occupies the top position in the judicial administration of a state. Okay, and High Court is termed as a second highest court in the country after the Supreme Court of India. Okay, right. So the Constitution of India provides for a High Court for each state. Okay, but the 7th Amendment Act of 1956 authorized the Parliament to establish a common High Court for 2 or more states, or for 2 or more states and a union territory. So please remember this amendment. So 7th Constitutional Amendment Act, which was passed in 1956, empowers the Parliament to expand the jurisdiction of the High Court to more than one state, right? And if it is necessary, for union territory as well. Okay, so 7th Constitutional Amendment Act empowered the Parliament to expand the jurisdiction of the High Court to more than one state. Okay, and the territorial jurisdiction of a High Court is coterminous with the territory of the state. That means where the territory of the state ends, there the jurisdiction of that state concerned ends. Okay, that means the jurisdiction of the every High Court is coterminous with the respective states. Am I clear? Right. Similarly, the territorial jurisdiction of a common High Court is coterminous with the territories of the concerned states and union territories, if there are union territories, right? For example, for Lakshadweep, okay, the High Court bench for Lakshadweep is in Kerala. Okay, and the High Court bench for Andaman and Nicobar Islands, do you know where is it? Hmm? West Bengal. Okay, very good. So in that way, some union territories are kept under the jurisdiction of some high courts, of the states which are near to the union territories. Okay, right. At present, there are 25 high courts in the country. 25 high courts at present. Out of them, only 3 high courts have jurisdiction more than one state. Okay, so among the 9 union territories, Delhi alone has a separate high court according to the Act of 1966, Delhi High Court Act. So the union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh have a common high court. As I said earlier, 7th Constitutional Amendment Act empowers the Parliament to establish a common high court. Okay, and the other union territories fall under the jurisdiction of different state high courts, right? We do know that Delhi is an union territory, and Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh are also the union territories. Okay, and remaining union territories, their jurisdiction fall under the different state high courts. As I said, the Lakshadweep, its jurisdiction is under High Court of Kerala, and Andaman Nicobar Islands under the High Court of West Bengal, right? So the Parliament can extend the jurisdiction of a High Court to any union territory to or exclude the jurisdiction of a High Court from any union territory. I think explanation is not needed for this. Okay, from Article 214 to 231, please note this. From Article 214 to 231 in Part 6 of the Constitution deals with the organization, independence, jurisdiction, powers, procedures, and so on of the high courts, right? So the matters regarding high court are kept under from Articles 214 to Article 231, okay, under Part 6 of the Indian Constitution, right? Okay. Now we will look into the composition and appointment of the judges. So if you look at the composition, every high court, whether a single high court or a common high court, consists of a chief justice and such other judges as the president may from time to time considers necessary to appoint. Okay, and thus the Constitution does not specify the strength of the high court and leaves it to the discretion of the president. Here the strength of the judges in the high court, okay, will be decided by the President of India. If you take the Supreme Court, the strength of the judges of the Supreme Court is decided by the Parliament through an act. Okay, as I discussed earlier, at present there are 31 judges, including the Chief Justice of India, in the Supreme Court. Okay, whereas in high courts, the strength of the judges in a high court is decided by the President of India. Okay, it is a discretionary power of the President. Okay, accordingly, the President determines the strength of a high court from time to time depending upon its workload. That means if the President believes that there is a huge workload in a particular high court, then he may increase the strength of the court concerned. Okay, right. Now we'll see the appointment of judges, right? So you have to remember this point. The strength of the judges in a high court is decided by the President of India. The strength of the judges in a Supreme Court can be expanded by the Parliament through an act. So please understand this minor difference. And as far as the appointment of judges is concerned, the judges of a high court are appointed by the President, and this appointment is done only after the Chief Justice. Okay, let me complete this, then we will go for the appointment of another judges. I mean judges apart from the Chief Justice. Okay, the judges of a high court are appointed by the President. Okay, is it clear? Right. The Chief Justice is appointed by the President after consultation with the Chief Justice of India and the Governor of the state concerned. So please note this point. So before appointing the Chief Justice of a particular High Court. And who are the people to be consulted? One is CJI, Chief Justice of India, and the Governor of the state concerned. Okay. So after the consultation of these two members, the President appoints the Chief Justice of a particular High Court. Okay. Then what about the judges apart from the Chief Justice of a High Court? So for appointment of other judges means apart from Chief Justice, the Chief Justice of the concerned High Court is also consulted. Meaning, for the appointment of the judges of a High Court other than Chief Justice, the President has to consult the Chief Justice of the High Court or the Chief Justice of the concerned High Court, as well as the Chief Justice of India, as well as the Governor of the state concerned. Okay. And in case of a common High Court, for the two or more states, the governors of all the states concerned are consulted by the President. So I think you got the point. Okay. So in this way, the appointment of the judges is done in the High Courts. So of course, you may have a question about this consultation. Okay, that means the President consult the Chief Justice of India as well as the Governor of the state concerned and the concerned High Court before the appointment of judges, whether the consultation is binding on the President or not. Okay, you may have a doubt in this aspect. Of course, while delivering lectures on Supreme Court, appointment of judges on the Supreme Court, we discussed about collegium system. Okay, and the same process is enforced in the appointments of the judges of the High Court as well. Okay, so once again I would like to discuss about the judgments of Supreme Court regarding the appointment of the judges of the High Court. So in the second judge case 1993, the Supreme Court ruled that no appointment of a judge of the High Court can be made unless it is in conformity with the opinion of Chief Justice of India, meaning the consultation is concurrence. Concurrence means the Chief Justice of India should agree with the decision of the President. Other way around, the President of India has to follow the advice of the Chief Justice of India. Okay. In the third judge case, the Supreme Court opined that in case of the appointment of High Court judges, the Chief Justice of India should consult a collegium. I already told you, a group of senior most judges is called collegium. Collegium of two senior most judges of the Supreme Court. So please make a note here, my dear students. While discussing the appointment of judges in the Supreme Court, the collegium consists of 4 senior most judges. Okay. So at least 3 senior most judges should accept the proposal of the Chief Justice of India. Then only the judges are appointed. Whereas in case of High Court, 2 senior most judges will be there in the collegium in order to take decisions with respect to the appointment of judges of High Court. Okay. So thus the sole opinion of the Chief Justice of India alone does not constitute the consultation process. That means consultation means 2 senior most judges of the collegium should be consulted by the Chief Justice of India before tendering an advice to the President of India for appointing judges to the concerned High Courts. Okay, right. So we already discussed about National Judicial Appointments Commission, NJAC. So this was formed through an 99th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2014. Okay. So what is the need of this amendment? So basically this collegium system, there is no transparency in collegium system, because nobody knows or no one knows on what basis the members of the collegium will appoint the judges. Okay. So in order to increase the transparency in the collegium system, the Parliament has enacted 99th Constitutional Amendment Act, okay, for appointing the judges to the Supreme Court as well as the High Court. Okay. However, in 2015, the Supreme Court has declared both the 99th Constitutional Amendment as well as this NJAC as unconstitutional and void. Okay. So consequently, as a result, the earlier collegium system became operative again. Okay. So the verdict was delivered by the Supreme Court in the 4th judge's case 2015. You know, first judge case, second judge case and third judge case. These three cases talks about the evolution of collegium system. And 4th judge case talks about the rejection of 99th Constitutional Amendment Act by the Supreme Court. Okay. So you may have a question, why Supreme Court has declared this 99th Constitutional Amendment Act as null and void? Okay, the answer for that is the court opined that the new system, that is NJAC, would affect the independence of the judiciary. So what is the meaning of independence of the judiciary? We will discuss the independence of the judiciary in the coming class. Okay. So meanwhile, I would like to give some points on independence of judiciary. So independence of judiciary means there should be no, or there shouldn't be involvement of the other two organs of the government. There shouldn't be any political pressures on the judges, because the judiciary is the guardian of the constitution, and the judiciary ensures the fundamental rights, ensures the enforcement of fundamental rights. Okay, and also judiciary ensures the rule of law. So in order to perform all these functions, there should be independence to the judiciary. Okay, so the court felt that, the Supreme Court felt that the interference of political members, okay, members of non-judicial background, will definitely degrade the independence of the judiciary. Therefore, Supreme Court opined this NJAC is against the basic structure of the Constitution, and it declared the act as null and void. Okay, dear students, I think you understood how the judges of a High Court are appointed. Okay, they follow the system called collegium. Okay, with two senior-most judges to appoint the judges of a High Court. Right. So in the next video, next lecture, I will discuss the qualification of the judges, oath, and tenure of the judges. Okay. Thank you.